Welcome to Storm Watch here at the Weather Channel. I'm Paul Emmick. We're here to take a look at some very stormy conditions still across the Midwest in around Mackinac Island, or Mackinac right now, Mackinac County and the UP of Michigan. Severe thunderstorm warning, and many across Wisconsin as well as into Iowa. Those are some of the stormiest spots. We'll look at those. First, we'll begin taking a look at the tropics as we begin with our tropical update. In a moment, we'll look at some of the severe weather, including Saline County, Nebraska, also Chippewa County into eastern upper Michigan. In the UP, still a very stormy time in place. Now, in the tropics, not a lot going on usually during the month of June. It's not one of the climatologically favored areas we often see development. Now, really, we just start to see a few into June, but of course it becomes a lot more likely on and toward August, September, and October. But you look to see where the tracks have been, where they often develop in June, very close to land. Even sometimes you'll see a big batch of convection. A few years ago, we had a big cluster of storms that moved across Louisiana over a weekend, pushed out over the water, took on tropical characteristics, then came back in as a hurricane named Danny. So we'll have to look closer to land and not so much further out. Now, into July, upper-level conditions becoming a little less volatile toward the survival of a system making the move, say from the Cape Verde region, kind of moving across from Africa, the southern coast there, and moving on. Some of the principal tracks getting a little further away from land masses, including parts of the Caribbean that might be a little more active into July. But again, usually in June, most develop very close to land. Look at the big picture of things here about the past 24 hours or so. As you look on toward the Gulf, not a lot going on for the Gulf region right now at all. Again, a very quiet time across the Gulf and the Caribbean. Nothing really looking that prime for development. Little bit of active weather, just a little wave kind of kicking through the windwards, but not a lot expected from that. Across the Pacific, not much happening, although continue to watch off the Pacific. Some storms that are popping up just because it's a little more favorable. The conditions are pretty ripe now for something to develop in the Pacific. Very common to see storms this time of the year, and not out of the question we could have a classified system. Anything that does pop up should be fairly slow to develop, but in a few days we could indeed have a system off the Pacific coast. Here's what's happening, the current weather coast to coast. Across parts of upstate New York, a little bit wet, also some rain into Florida. A few sprinkles, a little drizzle here and there, including around Colorado, including in toward Denver metro. May see a little drizzle here for a while. Across the Midwest, so that's where the problems are most noticeable. Still very volatile atmosphere in place. We have sufficient lift, we have enough moisture, we have enough instability, plus proper upper-level support. We're destined for a situation with severe weather chances. Wisconsin, still many spots across Wisconsin getting stormy. And I mentioned a moment ago, the UP of Michigan stormy too. UP, parts of Wisconsin, also a bit of Minnesota, a little bit of a tornado watch still in effect. Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, even northwestern Missouri, and in Nebraska. Severe thunderstorm watch here. Of course, many conditions favorable for severe weather, like incredible wind and also sizable hail. And think about this, too. Some of the storms that are pushing through, like the UP, moving 50 or 60 miles per hour. Even some of these cells in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range moving across bits of Iowa. So things are really pretty action-packed. I mentioned Mackinac County, severe thunderstorm warning. We got some big storms in Marquette. It's kind of moved on to our north and east. Still some soaking rain, though. Still very stormy at times across Wisconsin. Around the Twin Cities, quiet, but in toward Eau Claire and even Rhinelander, a few storms in our region. Look at this line right there, kind of collapsing in a hurry. Kind of interesting to watch the last few minutes. Kind of fueled up and then kind of, look at kind of getting together, getting stormy, and then the last few minutes starting to collapse a little bit, pushing into western Illinois. Kind of interesting to see things fall apart. We're away from our daytime heating by quite a bit. Pretty common. You see storms weaken a bit. Still a bit stormy around Cedar Rapids, a little longer. Mostly soaking rain, though. Northwestern parts of Missouri, even across Kansas, some additional storms. Some in Nebraska. Little wet, little bit wet. Into parts of Florida. And across the western U.S., I mentioned just a few showers here and there. May see a little drizzle a bit longer in toward Denver. More on the active weather of our night next after local forecast.